دایی یه فرصت خوب حالا پشت مدافع خداداد عزیزی توی دروازه گل برای ایران خداداد عزیزی باز هم روی زمین گشت سردار آزمون به توی دروازه سردار آزمون گل به نام آزمون و برای ایران
بزنه کریم انصاری توی دروازه کریم انصاری دروازه پرتغال باز شد
علی دایی سام توپ توی دروازه
اشتباه حرکتی از کوچان نژاد فرصت برای کوچان نژاد توی دروازه گل برای ایران.
It's a meeting between the top two sides in Group A as the Islamic Republic of Iran take on the Korea Republic at the Azadi Stadium. The hosts have won the last three meetings here 1-0. Korea have never won in Iran, but Paulo Bento's team are hoping to change that today. Iran with the ball on the edge of the area, it's fired in but saved. Still more defending to do perhaps for Korea. Overhead effort coming in from Taremi, forcing a save from the goalkeeper. It was Azmoun's shot initially. It was a spectacular attempt from Mehdi Taremi. Korea coming forward in the second half, and Son's in behind here, and Son opens the scoring for Korea in Tehran. The clean sheet run is broken just minutes into the second half, and it was simple in the end after Lee Jae-sung's pass. Son Heung-min, the goal scorer. Ezatolahi taking it past more than one player and pings it off the post for Iran. That was a really good effort from Ezatolahi. Crossed back into the box and headed goalwards, and it snuck in at the back post. Captain Alireza Jahanbakhsh. Power and precision on the header, and Iran have the leveller that they were looking for. Mehdi Taremi fires it onto the post, and again Iran hit the woodwork. They've won 10 out of 10 games under coach Dragan Skocic, and they're showing why. Last few seconds here, defending to do for Iran, and that's a good save deep into stoppage time. Na Sang-ho with a chance to win it with the final kick. But Bezan Van's save rescues a point for Iran. They stay top of Group A. Korea remain in second, but both teams are closing in on qualification.
Welcome back to Bezan podcast. My name's Arya Allahverdi. I'm joined by my two good friends, Pejman Pars and Sahar. How are we all doing?
Good, thank you. How are you?
I'm great. Glad to be back on Bezan podcast. Pejman?
I'm just good. Nice to talk with you guys.
Excellent. Okay, today's episode will be an analysis of Iran versus South Korea, which ended 1-1. Team Melli remaining top of Group A with 10 points. Goals coming from Son Heung-min and Alireza Jahanbakhsh. We'll also hear a fan reaction from my good friend Amir Mahboob from MahboobTubeTV on YouTube. He streamed the match live, not to watch, but to commentate on. He does it all the time for the matches. We'll speak to him later on in the episode. Of course, let's go straight into it. Iran against South Korea ended 1-1, as I said. I want to ask Sahar first. What was your impressions on the lineup? There was only one change. We had Sadrzadeh coming in for Nur Afkan. Amir went back to left back. What was your impression of the lineup?
The starting 11, I mean, it's good that Nur Afkan didn't start, but I still don't know why Allahi is fixed. And, talking about subs, I think everyone agrees that we were very frustrated and that he didn't make the most out of these substitutions he had. And didn't bring, I was hoping that he would bring Torabi or someone Quddus in, but instead he just changed the position for Amiri and Jahanbakhsh, and then also Sadrzadeh off Nur Afkan in. And also when he had a yellow card already. So it was a bit risky, especially when we are 1-0 down and 1 down. So, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the change at halftime, you could argue was a little bit surprising, but we'll come on to that in a minute. Pejman?
I agree with what Sahar said. I mean, Amir did a good good game, the last game. So he could very well have started, but I have nothing against the lineup that was presented. To be honest, the smaller changes here and there were good enough for me.
Okay, fantastic. Yeah, like my first impressions of the lineup has to be said. I think ultimately it was good to see Qualifiers come in. I think he's a player who can always cause impact for the team, and maybe he didn't do it so much this game. I think you can argue that he's not had the best of starts to the season, Zadeh, and I think you could maybe see that in this game. He wasn't at his best, and I think also, Jahanbakhsh moving to the left hand side. I just don't think I don't think he's a natural player on the left hand side. I think he's much better on the right hand side. He's always played there. I think he kind of struggles to influence the game the way he wants to on the left. But I was really happy to see Amir at left back. I thought Amir was brilliant. I thought he did actually really well to kind of hold off Heung-min Son, especially in the first half. Because he was kind of drifting out to the right hand side and he was coming up against Vahid Amiri, and Vahid Amiri was doing really well against Son. So it was a good like overall lineup. I don't know how they responded to it. We'll come on to that in a minute. But to start with, it wasn't too bad. Okay, let's go to the first half performance. Pejman, I'll ask you, the first half performance, in your opinion, are you satisfied with how we played? Do you think we could have done better overall?
I think the first 20 minutes really showed that Iran haven't played against decent teams for a long time. Although Iran have won all the games so far, but Korea was probably the first hard test, and the first 20 minutes were really shaky. And I was like, I was really not. I was hoping that wouldn't happen, because that will make everybody start to doubt the team, doubt Skocic, that he can't handle the pressure, he can't handle the big teams. So I'm satisfied that the game actually changed after around 20 minutes, and Iran came back into the game, and it got more even. But it showed that Iran needs to play more games against tougher opponents, because that's what probably will be, because Iran will go to the World Cup. I'm pretty sure of that. So we have to get more of these kind of games. And South Korea isn't probably even the best team in Asia, but they were really close to hurting Iran in the first half.
The first 15-20 minutes, I agree. And also I noticed that Korea was attacking from right hand side a lot, and we weren't sort of on top of it. I mean, we needed help in the right hand side of the pitch, so that's what I've noticed. So I think for the next games we should really be careful of that.
Yeah, it was interesting. The way we defended was quite interesting, because we started off trying to really be, the team that presses and wins the ball back really early. But we noticed very early on that South Korea, they're not Iraq, they're not Syria. They're a good side and they can keep the ball, and they were really good at doing that. They were able to keep possession and create chances, which they did do. And that meant that Iran had to come back and sit deep and defend in their own kind of half. And they did that for a lot of the 45 minutes. Although, as Pejman said, there were times in the game where Iran had possession and they were attacking as well. However, when we defended, we weren't pressing as hard. And even you could hear, I think around the sort of 42nd minute roughly, I kind of clocked it at, Bayron Van was shouting to his defenders to not make any fouls, don't press the ball so hard, don't go out to the ball and try and win it back so aggressively, because if we do that, we'll just get fouls away and we won't really have any success. But Iran started to kind of be a little bit more contained in their defending, and we won the ball back when they were making mistakes, which is the reason why we were able to create attacks, especially in the sort of latter parts of the first half. And we looked a lot better. We didn't score a goal, but we looked a lot better, especially with Taremi coming a little bit deeper, playing in a more of like an attacking midfield role. But as I said on the Twitter Spaces, Taremi isn't an attacking midfielder. He's not really that guy who's going to pass the ball around and, open up spaces and behind. He's not that guy. So although he was doing it and he was trying, he wasn't being as successful as maybe as someone Godus would have been, which we'll come on to in a minute, or even a Zadeh who can also play in that position. But overall, it was a good first half. Then obviously, let's go to the second half performance. As soon as the game started, not long into it, we conceded a goal. We conceded a goal from Heung-min, who scored, and I think it was a really comfortable finish for him. But from Iran's perspective, we can say that it was a bad ball giveaway in at the halfway line. I believe it was Saeid Ezatolahi who went for a tackle. He missed the ball. It came through to the midfielder. He played a lovely through ball to Son, who just got in behind Moharami, who just didn't see him over his shoulder, and he was able to get in behind him very easily. And then I think Bezan's positioning, as some of you pointed out on the Twitter Spaces, was just not good enough. It was too far off his line. He let Son, have an easy angled shot into the bottom right hand corner, and it was 1-0. Sahar, what do you think of that?
Yeah, actually reminded me of the Taremi's score for UAE. Against UAE, it was very similar to that, and I would say so. Bezan wasn't like, I don't know. I noticed Bezan coming out of his line like a few other times too, trying to defend. So I don't know. Maybe he wasn't really confident with the defense line. So yeah.
Yeah, it did seem that he was a little bit too eager to come out, and he knew that he couldn't make a sliding tackle or like a sliding block. He was too early to come out, and it seemed like it just made the finish too easy for the Tottenham striker. Pejman?
Yeah, you know me. I've been critical against Bezan, but I think overall this game he was actually really good. I didn't want to see him, make some dangerous passes to the defenders that he did. The goal, can you blame him? No, not really. But
no.
I think he still was like it went a little bit too fast for him to like. He should either be in the goal or like more in the front. But he's playing against one of the best strikers in the world at the moment, so I won't blame him for it. And as you said, it was a great pass to Son.
Yeah, I mean, look, if we're gonna blame anyone, I think I said on the space, you could probably say Moharami's positioning was a little bit too front facing. He wasn't side on. He wasn't able to turn to turn and get back to position again. And Son took advantage of that and scored the goal. And it's a Premier League striker. You can't really complain when a guy like him is scoring. You have to just accept it. It happens. But what I loved about Iran in that second half is as soon as we conceded the goal, we were on the attack, and I really don't think South Korea had anything else to offer except the last touch of the game where they almost got a chance to score a goal. But other than that, there wasn't really anything going forward from South Korea. Iran were pretty much the only team attacking. Sahar, let's come to you. Look, I mean, what were your thoughts on the the psychology of that?
I do believe that before the Team Melli would like lose the confidence or they wouldn't attack, but it was very different this time, which was amazing. And honestly, it was an interesting game. And what frustrating most was that Taremi, Osman, they want to score, like they wanted to, but there wasn't enough energy in the midfield. There wasn't, they were like Koreans were pressing us, and in the midfield they were sort of pressing us, and we needed someone like Samson there to help us and then help the attacking line to score. And that's why we're frustrating me, because every single player on the pitch, you could see they have the energy, they're so eager to score and equalize, but unfortunately we couldn't, as in to win.
However, Jahanbakhsh scored his goal, third goal of the the last round of qualification. He scored against Iraq as well, and I believe he also scored against Syria. Pejman, what was your overall thoughts on Iran's resurgence after the goal and the goal itself?
I think we should give more credit to Osmoon for that pass, to be honest. It was a really difficult pass because if he were taking the ball himself, it would probably go out because he had too much speed. So in just one moment, he managed both to get to the ball, be able to go behind the ball, make a great pass to somebody in the back, and you see he fell after that because he couldn't do anything else, and make a good pass and create that assist that made a goal. I think what Sahar also said, that the guys, both Taremi and Osman, wanted to score. They were really close a couple of times. The goalkeeper made a great double save in the first half, I believe. One was the bicycle kick from Taremi, and like the moment before was a decent shot from Osman. So didn't Iran have like a couple of shots hitting the woodwork as well?
That's right. I think it was Saeid and Taremi.
Melli Taremi.
It was a great goal actually, but Taremi's work to that goal was really impressive. Osman's work to that goal was really impressive.
Yes, certainly. Yes. Osman, we know how vital he is for us, and the fact that he can create a chance out of nothing. He's had, I think, he's like 3 assists so far for in the last 3 games or the last 2 games. Unbelievable performances for a national team. But also a fantastic leap by Jahanbakhsh and a goal at a very important moment. I will say I wasn't very impressed with Jahanbakhsh's performance up until then. But look, he scored the goal in a vital moment, which is what you want from the captain of the national team at that stage. You mentioned Ezatolahi and obviously hitting the post. Sorry, let's just speak about his performance, because for me, Ezatolahi was absolutely immense. Absolutely immense. I think he was fantastic from the first minute. We were speaking about his weight and the issues he's had from pre-season up until now. But yesterday's game was honestly, I think, one of his best games for the national team. He was really good. Other than the little slip he made again for the goal, which you can maybe argue was maybe partially his fault. Other than that, he had a fantastic performance, and the shot against the post. The fact that he was able to drive forward for the first time and really, let a shot rip from the edge of the box was just amazing. Sahar, what do you think of that?
Yeah, I think I mentioned in the last podcast too that Saeid Ezatolahi is very aware when in the midfield. Like he make quick decisions and passes the ball, and the accuracy is just on point. So yeah.
Yeah, Pejman. Give me a little bit about Saeid. I know, obviously we interviewed him and we know how much of a talent he is. But yesterday's game, you've got to agree, was one of his best.
Yeah, I was actually following Saeid during the game when he didn't have the ball, and he was doing all the right things that you want to do from like a number 6, like a midfielder that's the heart of the team, like a spider. He was always trying to be active, trying to be available for a pass, looking for players both on the left and the right side. He was active, and I feel like he's become more calm, to be honest, or more. It probably got to do with the amount of time that he's actually playing in Denmark. It was a long time that he didn't play anything, was just on the bench or something, and Emma was injured. But now that he got some playing time, I think he gets more confidence, and I believe that he got now the coach's confidence as well. And for me, he's like, if you want to pick up 3 players that should always start for Iran, I believe it's Taremi, Osman, and Ezatolahi. The rest could all be changed or have like a good enough competition, but those 3 are the most important key players in Team Melli today.
Okay, let's go on to the important part of the podcast, which I think is very important to discuss, is regarding the subs. I mean, let's be realistic. He only made one sub in this game, and that was Nur Afghan coming on for Sadrzadeh. Yes, he brought on, 2 last-minute changes, Qaidi and Sarlak. Other than that, those don't really count, in my opinion. There's only one change made, and that was Nur Afghan. Just to get a bit of information, there are 5 subs available for this match, but only 3 were made.
If there's something we should criticize or at least mention about the Scottish way of coach, it's his changes. And we keep always comparing him to Queiroz, and I think I'll do this here as well. That was maybe one of Queiroz' strengths to know how to change the game, especially in the second half. If it was needed. With Scottish, I really didn't get what was the idea of bringing in OID in the 90th minute and Sarlak. Was it because those players that he changed, Nualahi and Osman, were they tired? But then they should always maybe, if they were tired, they were probably kind of tired in the 80th minute as well. So maybe do that change a bit earlier and give those players that came in a serious chance. And should we talk about the absence of Odus now, or is that like a separate topic you want to?
Yeah, we'll come on to that in a second. Sahar, I want to come to you before we do it. We're going to go on to Samson. I mean, obviously, you mentioned in your first answer regarding Nur Afghan coming on. Do you think it was needed? Do you think he needed to come on in this game?
I really don't think so, because we well, I think he did it just because to move Amiri, changes Amir's position. But first of all, I don't know why he does that. He always put them like Amir and Jahanbakhsh are in, like they're not in their usual position, and then he just changes it like after halftime. Well, I don't think it was needed because we had to score, and we did score after when Afghan came on. But I don't think it was needed. I mean, not really related, but I think our right fullback is really not good in Melli at the moment. But that's another topic we can talk about. I think we missed Reza and Jan here, but anyway.
Okay. I mean, I want to just say something. I think for me, it's very interesting. Look, you make a good point. We did score when Nur Afghan came on. I don't think it was related to the goal, but the point is, Vahid Amiri was doing perfectly fine at left back. There wasn't a need to bring on a left back. That's a fact. You go look at the game. There wasn't a need to bring a left back on. That's a simple fact.
Yeah.
Then he brings on obviously Nur Afghan. He puts Vahid Amiri at left midfield. You've done that. Obviously, the thought has been because you probably want to go more defensive, because Vahid Amiri is known for his hard work. He's not known for his attacking prowess. He's not known for his crossing ability and the ability to score goals and create assists. He's known for his hard work. He's known for his ability to be a grafter and really create a lot of pressing in the team. And that's good to some extent. And if you want to defend, and if Scottish idea was to try and maintain that 1-1 level scoreline, then of course 100% go with that. Bring on Nur Afghan left back and keep it. But the players didn't respond to you that way, Dragan Skocic. They responded to you differently. They wanted to go and attack the game. Their idea was not to keep it 1-1. Your players attacked the game for 40 minutes or maybe even a bit more than that. Do you know what I'm saying? So ultimately, you should have brought on someone who's going to influence that performance, not someone who's just going to change or gonna make it more defensive. When your players are attacking, you have to help them, allow them to go and attack the game if that's what they want to do. On the Twitter, I mentioned that the players are not dumb. They're professional footballers. Do you know what I mean? So they know football, and if in their minds they believe wholeheartedly that they can win the game, you have to trust your players. And you have to allow them to do that. And if by giving them the best opportunity to do that is bringing on a player like Qaidi, a guy like Torabi, or as I would prefer, a guy like Samson Qudus, who could have created more chances. And if you saw towards the end of the game, we had a lot more set pieces. I mean, who's the best set piece taker in the national team? Someone Ghoddos by a long way. So you would have allowed him to come on. He would have taken some set pieces, some corners, some free kicks, and you would have created more chances and possibly scored a goal rather than having Vahid Amiri on at left midfield, who really wasn't going to provide you many attacks going forward. So coming on to that, Pejman, why did someone not come on?
I think that's a question for Scottish, and I don't think that question was already asked during the press conference after the game, right? We can talk about his lack of play in Brentford. He haven't played the last 2-3 games, only been on the bench. So that's a reason maybe for Scottish to say, like, if you don't play in the club, although it's Premier League and it's tough competition and everything, it's much harder for you to actually get minutes in the national team.
I have an argument against that, Pejman.
We'll come to that.
Okay.
But then again, I agree with your thoughts and your idea about if you want to go and attack and try to win the game, then a player like Qaidi or Karim Ansari Fard, or as I also would prefer, Saeid Ghoddos would do much better. You know what? I would love to see a game with Saeid Ezatolahi and Saeid Ghoddos in the middle. I think that can be a really interesting duo that can do well. Someone providing the left and right players, like if it would be Amiri or whoever, and Jahanbakhsh, and even on the top with Osman and Taremi, and Saeid like just being that wall and that smart player that he can be is really good. But I don't think that he will ever bring, if Iran is not winning the game, if Iran needs to win the game and someone is on the bench, then he maybe will get some minutes. Other than that, I don't think Skocic will trust someone or will need someone with the ideas that he seems to be having right now, and that's a pity.
I want to mention something regarding the subs and the Skocic, because back in June, like in spring summer games, we had lots of great subs, like Bahrain game, Torabi and Saman both came on and we scored and it was amazing. But again, a few other games as well, good subs, and someone even played. But like all of a sudden that changed, it caught my eyes and my attention actually here, that why this dramatic change, and like why Skocic just stopped doing that. That's just a question.
Yeah, it's a good point. It is a good point. It is a very dramatic change from what he was doing previously, as you mentioned in the last couple of games when he was making the changes. But my point is, some of you guys are saying that obviously he's not playing for Brentford, but I mean, look, that's a terrible argument. Moharami isn't playing that often for Dinamo Zagreb. Beiran just recently started playing for Boavista. By the way, the Persian Gulf Pro League hasn't even started yet. So Vahid Amiri technically isn't actually playing for Persepolis right now.
Come on, it's not that bad of a take. Moharami, he's been injured and he's not a fixed player. He's not a fixed player in the starting 11. So he recently played a couple of games and the coach decided to play him with Beiran, as you mentioned.
No. I'm not saying they shouldn't start. That's not my point.
What's your point?
What I'm trying to say is, if that's happening, and why would someone not starting for Brentford mean he shouldn't start for the national team, or at least play for the national team? I'll at least come on as a sub in these two games at least once. Do you know what I mean?
But I think Sahar mentioned something here about the way that Scottish have probably changed. I think he's maybe trying to be a bit more cautious, a bit more safer, and someone isn't that kind of player that will defend. He's the player that will attack, create chances, and against South Korea after 1-1, I don't think that Iran. I think Scottish didn't want to risk anything.
Yeah, I agree. That's that was my original point. I think that's what his idea was. He wanted to defend the game. He wanted to go and defend and win and draw 1-1. But his players didn't want to do that. I mean, we hit the post twice.
Mehdi Taremi fires.
When we equalized, Saeid and Taremi hit the post. We created so many more chances. It was as if we could have easily won the game, in my opinion, if we maybe just got a bit lucky.
Come on.
I believe that. I believe we could have won the game. I really do. And I don't believe.
And we could have lost the game in the 93rd minute as well. So
yeah, we could have. But I don't believe that South Korea were causing us that many issues. Even when we were attacking the game, I do not believe South Korea were causing us that many issues. And if you look at the second half, honestly, they had maybe 2 chances, South Korea. And that was when, probably when the players were a lot more tired. As you mentioned, Sardar went off. I don't believe in his mind he wanted his team to win. Not he didn't win, but he wanted to draw the game. He wanted to draw the game.
He didn't want to lose. Of course he wanted to win.
Of course, to retract. I didn't say he doesn't want to win the game. I want to wholeheartedly believe that he wanted to win the game, but I believe he was going for a draw, but his players were not responding to that. His players were going for the win.
I think that's a strange take and say like the players.
I get what Arya means. Like she just wanted to make sure that we don't concede. Like they don't score another goal. We went.
And that's what I'm saying as well. He didn't want to lose the game, but I think he still had some plans and the team as well on how to attack and how to create chances and hopefully score. But maybe just play with words. But going back to your other take, listen, I'm all for someone playing and getting minutes. I think that he should have been given minutes. But saying that it's like ridiculous or crazy that he didn't due to lack of playing time, it's not that ridiculous. Because you mentioned a couple of the players. Bezan, he actually didn't play one game, and I think that if he hadn't started those last couple of games for Boavista, it wouldn't have taken long before there would be some more questions about him playing for a national team as well. Moharami, he had played as you said, and he's not a regular fix. He's not a starter. Amiri, I mean, he's a regular player for Persepolis. Just because of the league haven't started doesn't mean that his skills will disappear, and he knows what he can demand of players like Amiri.
I agree. I 100% agree. Like, I personally want Bezan to start. I personally want Moharami to start. I want these things, but for me, there is no doubt in my mind that we had to see someone in this game at some point. 100%. That's why I believe. I think he would have changed the game for us. Definitely. I don't think that bringing him on would have mean that we would have conceded a goal. I don't believe that. I don't see how that would have worked. Anyway, let's move on. We've kind of overblown the topic. Okay, let's go to the last part of the podcast. We have fan reaction from my good friend Amir Mahboob, who is a YouTuber from channel MahboobTubeTV, who gave his thoughts on the match. Okay, I'm joined by my good friend Amir Mahboob from channel on YouTube MahboobTubeTV. How are you doing, my friend?
Pretty good. Very good.
Appreciate your time, my friend. I really do. If you guys didn't know, Amir has his own YouTube channel, as I just mentioned. He sometimes streams, or most of the time streams the matches on his channel. Doing the live stream, not showing the match, but doing his own kind of commentary during the game. Amir, I'll let you just describe it for us.
Definitely. I went to the World Cup in 2018 with my father, and that's what sparked my Instagram channel, Amir Goes 24. And we were following all the Iran games. We went to all 3, fantastic time. And I saw there was such a strong fanship of the Iranian national football team, but not a ton of content out there. So I decided to start my YouTube channel, MahboobTubeTV, focusing on everything Iran and Los Angeles sports, where I'm born and raised. And I will be going to the next World Cup, so I'll have a lot of vlogging and content and analysis going on over there on the YouTube channel. But I do also a live watch companion on Iran game days. I even did some futsal World Cup stuff. That was pretty fun. And also on my Twitch channel, at Amir Goes 20, or actually just at Amir Goes on Twitch, twitch.tv. And there I'm actually allowed to show the game. So on the times they don't kick me off, I just simultaneously stream on YouTube and Twitch, which has been a fantastic way to meet different fans that are all supporting Iran national team, Team Melli, baby.
Fantastic. I appreciate that. Okay, of course, today's topic is regarding yesterday's game, Iran against South Korea, which ended 1-1. Give us your general thoughts on the match itself. And obviously you watched the game live and you were commenting on it. What were your thoughts throughout the game?
Well, normally I live my life pretty scared. So at halftime, it was 0-0. And I was very worried because Korea, with their defense, always 2 men on a ball. They were really quick on their passes, and we didn't have too many opportunities. I know Mahdi Taremi had a nice bicycle kick that he was trying. So towards the end of the second half, we were looking like we were due for a goal. But starting off that second half with Son scoring so quickly, I mean, it was such a disappointment. So I was nervous pretty much the whole game. But, we had 2 nice shots on goal that hit the post, one by Ezatolahi and the other by Taremi. And we did get a goal in with a awesome hustle play by Osmoon and kicking it back. I didn't even think it was going to happen. And when Jahanbakhsh, he ended up hitting that ball with a header from the penalty spot, it was so strong. It was an exciting game. And I love comeback. It was a tie. We should have won, really, but I love comeback stories. So as long as we didn't drop any points, we're still undefeated in this third round, which I'm extremely happy about.
Fantastic. And of course, we are still undefeated. We're still top of the table. And I'm sure you'll be streaming the Iran-Lebanon and Iran-Syria game next month. What are your thoughts going into the next month's matches?
I've only been really worried about South Korea moving forward. So, I feel I did watch some highlights of Lebanon yesterday, and they are a strong team. But as long as we stay focused, I believe it's an away match as well. We could come out there with the victory as long as we keep our heads in the game. And, Osmoon's due for a goal, so he's got to get one in. I know he's had 2 assists these past 2 games, but Sardar is due. So I'm thinking we should be able to cap that off with like a 2-0 win. In Syria, we did play them last in the second round, and I think we are, our confidence has been booming and going upwards. So I think we should be able to take care of them as well. And hopefully we could gain enough points that it'll, we won't have to worry going down the stretch like sometimes happens.
For sure. I really appreciate your time, Amir. Once again, check out his channel on YouTube, MahboobTubeTV. Again, streaming the matches live. I appreciate your time again, Amir.
Thanks, Arya. Yes, I love Goal Bezan as well. So I appreciate all you guys do. And hopefully we could do a collab together pretty soon here. And we'll do great things together for the country and for the people of Iran.
All the best.
All right, thanks, man.
Take care. Okay, we're back. Appreciate Amir's time. We really appreciate that. Let's go to the fan questions. First question is, is it time to try a new centre-back pairing in the national team? That question comes from @FootballScoutIR.
Yeah, I think, instead of Khalilzadeh and Kanani, who do you think we should bring? Who do we have? Arya?
We've got Majid on the bench. He hasn't played a game for the national team for some time now. Mortaza is injured. He's out for a long time. He most likely won't be back until the new year. And then on top of that, we're also missing Arif Gholami, who is also out for a long time. I believe they both have ACL injuries. And then, the other guy that was called up is Siavash Yazdani, who I don't really rate that highly, to start for the national team. So, I believe that Kanani's a good player. I think he's done really well for the national team. I think Khalilzadeh isn't too bad. I just think he does have his moments, But as a Majid Hosseini fan, I'd love to see him start. But it's hard to replace two guys who've done so well.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay, let's go to the next question. It comes from Ashkan. at PCAP for Life 10. Who should Godus possibly replace in the squad or in the starting lineup? He's suggesting Nurullahi, Amiri, and he's also asking, is it possible the system that Skocic is using, does it actually allow him to play? Because of the 4-4-2, it's slightly different for a position of that he plays as more of a number 10. There's no number 10 in a 4-4-2.
Yeah, so many people have said that 4-4-2 doesn't allow, there's no room for Saman Godus, but I do think someone, I think we mentioned in a podcast previously, that Saman and Ezatolahi would, I mean, Saman and Vahid Amiri, they've shown that what great duo they are. Did I say Amiri? Yeah, Vahid Amiri. And I mean, he should be a sub at some point. He should be used on the pitch. And I don't really know why we're not using him. We did use him. Torabi and Saman Godus came on the pitch, Bahrain game, and it was amazing. And
look, for me, Saman Godus should have played. We've already mentioned it on the podcast. You will hear it when it gets released. Personally, he should have played, but whether he plays in a 4-4-2 well, I don't know. You know, you can play him in a two-man midfield if you want to, but I don't think it's necessarily the place he wants to play. I think someone wants to play close to the strikers. He wants to play in a role that's going to allow a bit of freedom. You don't really want someone making tackles. You don't want him to be tracking back defensively. So in a 4-4-2, really, you can play him as a winger, possibly, but I don't know if that's really where he wants to play. So the argument is good. One, that maybe in a 4-4-2, it doesn't suit him. But to not bring him on at all for 2 games in a row, it's a bit concerning, in my opinion.
I wouldn't say starting 11, but exactly at minute 70, I don't know, 76. I mean, he could have come on the pitch.
Yeah. James Bond at SN00707. He asks, what are the other fullback options that weren't invited to the national team? Are there any in the Iranian league? Pretty simple one. There are, of course. Amir Zayan, yeah, he's not going to get called up. There are some. There's obviously Derakhshan Mer is a good left back. There's Abulfaz Jalali, Ismaili Far. There's potentially Maqdemati if you want to call him up. It's really up to you. It's not my decision, but I wouldn't do that. And then there's a couple of other players like, you know, Saeid Ezatolahi has been part of the national team in the past. There's also Tikdari, who was part of the squad recently. Personally, the ones that are in the squad are completely fine. You know, I do believe Moharami and Saleh Ardani are good right backs, and I also believe Milad and even Nur Afghan are good left backs. It's just a case of, you know, getting the best out of them and allowing them to play. You know, that's the most important thing. Okay, next question comes from, do people actually support Skocic?
Yeah, I think well, he has done something right? Especially, I mentioned before that the second half, when we were like 1-0 down, and the players didn't lose hope. They actually went for like more attack, and they wanted to score, and we didn't really see that before. You know, it was a more defensive. Team Melli was very defensive before, so he's doing something right. And well, yes, last game I was so frustrated. I think everyone was so frustrated that we didn't make the most out of the subs. And I mean, he brought in Rafkan, and I don't know why, but yeah, I think we have to give him some credit.
Yeah, we do. Look, as I said in the podcast earlier on, he very much went with the attitude that we had to get something out of this game, which is fine. You know, if you're the coach of the national team, you have to make a decision. And if your decision is to just draw the game and get something out of it and stay first place, I'm completely fine with that.
Yeah,
100%, no issues whatsoever. But when your players, as I said, are not responding to that, that's not what they were doing. They weren't defending for 45 minutes in the second half. They were attacking the game, you know, and they were going for the win. So my criticism, if I do have anything, which I don't really, but if I do have anything, it's that he didn't make the changes that allowed his players to do what they wanted to do, which was to win the game. They didn't want to draw the game. They wanted to win the game. So you have to help them, which you didn't do, which is a little bit annoying, but it is what it is. We still got a good result at the end of the day, and I'm still happy with it. So I'm okay with that. Guys, I think that's pretty much it, to be honest. I think we've answered a lot of the questions on the podcast. If your question hasn't been answered, it's probably because we've already answered it, or it's because we spoke about it on the Twitter Spaces, and it's a kind of a blown out discussion. Pretty much it. That's it. I think I want to say a big thank you to everyone who was there on Twitter Spaces during the game. I've mentioned all these in the podcast, but I'll just do it again for the guys who are here. I was not trying to waste your time, but I want to say a big thank you to all you guys, everyone who supported us on YouTube and all the kind of podcast platforms on social media, and in particular those of you who were there like during the game when I was doing the tweets, the tweets play by play, but the guys who were supporting that. Unbelievable support, and it's great. Gol Bezan's doing really well, and I really appreciate that you guys are able to do that. And we'll be back soon, hopefully, with another podcast. We're interviewing, as I said, Golnosh Khosravi, who's a national team player for the women's national team, and that's the one that we're doing just now, and also the national team games are next month against Lebanon and Syria on the 11th of November and the 16th of November away from home. Let's try and win the games. I'll ask you a question, Sahar, before we go. From these two results, going into the next two games in November, if we can get 6 points out of 6, does that set us up for qualification?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
It has to. I think if we win 6 games, get 6 points out of 6, ultimately, there is no doubt in my mind that the national team will qualify anyway. They will qualify anyway. I don't think we're going to not qualify to the World Cup. But if we can get 2 wins in November, I think it's a done deal. But it's very much a case of if we can finish first or not. And the result yesterday helped us, maintain that first place spot. But it's only 2 points gap, and a lot can change, and maybe South Korea drop points, so we'll see what happens.
I do want to mention before we go, for people on live at the moment, that not having spectators was actually one of the, maybe if we had spectators, things would have changed as well, the result. I mean, I think it was a bit strange, home game, not having anyone and not having spectator, and also against Korea, which has always been a heated sort of game. It was a negative impact, had a negative impact.
Yeah, I mean, look, if you go back and watch the games in the Premier League or Serie A that had no fans in the stadium, it wasn't really that much of it. It's not like playing at home didn't really change anything. It's pretty neutral stadium once there's no fans in the stadium. Someone asked us on Twitter Spaces, why did we not have any fans in the stadium? I'm not going to go into that. I think we all know why, but it didn't help. I think if we did have them, I think we would have done a lot better.
And also, someone said also continuing to get wins could help us get a higher pot in World Cup draw.
Yeah, Amir is asking. He's saying we should win against South Korea. We can't have excuses. I don't know about that. South Korea are a good team. South Korea are a fantastic team. They are. I mean, they were really good against us, and you can hear it when we say on the podcast. South Korea genuinely, like some of their midfielders were unbelievable. But the problem with Iran was we went into the game like with high intensity, and then we kind of dropped off, and then we did it again. We weren't very consistent with our tactics, which is fine. It's not always easy to be consistent. You have to be adaptable, but I think Iran kind of need to have a little bit more consistency about how they play but I think it will happen over a longer period of time. But we need to give a little bit more chance to Skocic for now.
Definitely. And
But
also
we'll see what
training.
happens.
I've mentioned training and tamrin training, and it's really important. These people have been, they're all around different leagues, and they have just come together. I mean, I'm sure they will improve, and I'm sure we'll see better results.
Okay, we thank you all for listening. Appreciate everyone's time. I also want to say a big thank you to everyone who joined us on Twitter Spaces before and after the match, as well as those of you who supported us on our podcast and articles this month. A big thank you to Pejman and Sahar for coming on.
Thank you, Arya, for having us once again.
Thanks, Arya.
Excellent. Okay, stay tuned. We're going to come back. We have matches against Lebanon and Syria next month, November 11th against Lebanon and November 16th against Syria, both away from home. So we'll be covering them as usual. Stay tuned on our social media, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. Follow us there. Subscribe to us on all the podcast platforms, and we'll see you very, very soon. Take care.
Hello everyone, my name is Saeid Ezatolahi and you're listening to the Bezan podcast.